Hey gamers, it's GrindThisGame here with an overview of Rimworld 1.3, which comes out tomorrow or today, depending on when you're watching this video. 1.3 comes with many new changes to the base game, but also a new optional paid DLC called Ideology, which I'll probably be doing some videos on in the future. So one of the biggest changes is with animals. With animals you have to make a pen. That's under a new structure. You've got wooden fence, wooden gates. Wooden fences are pretty cheap to make, they only require one wood. But you can make it out of any enclosed area, like using wooden walls for instance. The only downside to these pens is that carnivores can jump over them and come in and eat your chickens or eat whatever you're growing in your farm. Once you've got an enclosed area, you're going to want to go into MISC and use the pen marker and put it in that enclosed area. And from here you've got 3 new tabs. You can allow which animals you want to be penned up. Inside this food tab you can see how much natural food is growing in the pen and how much is being consumed. Super useful utility, so you can see how many animals of each type that you can have and maintain. And then under auto cut, if you want to cut back things like burned bushes or whatever, dandelions, things that the animals aren't going to eat, you can select them for auto cut. You can disable and enable it up here. You can also force it to cut now. I've got another pen here. If we do cut now, you can see it's going to try to chop down the dandelions. Once you've set up your actual pen and you've picked the animals that you want, your pawns will lead those animals into the pen like this. And the game seems to prefer the pen that has more natural food, because both of these pens allow for chickens, but they seem to be grabbing at least the chicks and bringing them over. There's a bit more to barns now. There's a new type of floor called straw matting, which will reduce the filth that the animals give off. And if the animals happen to make it into your base, the game will warn you that they're creating a mess. There's also the new egg box, so that your chickens can lay eggs in there. Makes it a little bit easier for your pawns to manage. As well, there's the new animal flap, which retains the temperature inside in your barn. The animal tab has actually been revamped a little bit, so you can see all the different areas that your animals will be in. You can force them to new zones. But the manage auto slaughter, this is the biggest improvement to farming animals in the game. You can choose which types of animals and the max quantity that you want to have of each one. So here we can mark, let's say we only want 2 max young chickens. The minute we do that, they'll come along and automatically slaughter the chicken. This way you don't need to micromanage all the slaughtering of animals when they get too plentiful, or they start eating all the food up. And let's say you don't want your animals to mate anymore. You can, under health, you can set an operation and sterilize them now, so that they don't make any more babies. On the topic of animals, you can no longer tame boom rats, according to the patch notes, but they can still randomly self-tame, so that's how I got this guy in here. And if you ever want to release your animals to the wild, there's a new release to wild option. Just remember, if they have a bond with the animal and you release it to the wild, there's going to be a debuff. There's some new variety in the foods that you can make now. You can cook a vegetarian fine meals, carnivore fine meals. So this is great if you, in the past, you needed a bit of each to make a fine meal or a lavish meal, but now you can pick vegetarian or carnivore. That way, if you've got lots of meat, you can still make meals, or if you've got lots of vegetarian, you can make lots of meals. They've changed the way that mortars work slightly. There's now a barrel durability, so after 20 shots, you got to replace the barrel. So if we go to make a copy of this here, you can see it requires a barrel as an ingredient. In the dev branch I wasn't able to see where you build the barrels, but I suspect they'll be in the machining table. If you don't like this new barrel option, there's a way to turn it off in the options of the game. You can go with more classic mortar versions. There's also some new visuals, like this research animation, as well as when pawns or animals are injured, you can see little bandages on them now, like this boom over here. There's some new visuals for the persona core as well. There's also some new animations for when they dig graves. They're pretty subtle. My most favorite change of the game yet, though, is they added beards. So you can see facial hair on some of my guys here. Frog's got quite the beard. Classic Rimworld style. I haven't discovered if female pawns can have beards yet, though. There's also a new feature when you draft your pawns. You can set a formation for them to automatically line up in, just holding down the right mouse button. Super handy. Another great quality of life feature is the search bar. So there's a search bar down in the bottom left here. So if you're searching for things like gray, for instance, or if you're on a pawn's information screen, you can search for things like their diet. Very handy. There's also two new types of breach raids. This is a mechanoid termite, which does tons of damage to walls. And this cannon here doesn't do as much damage to pawns and animals, but it does do a decent amount if they're unarmored. The other breach raid is with pawns that come with these breach axes. Same thing, does a lot of damage to walls. But it also can be used as a weapon, and it does quite a bit of damage, but not quite as much as like a regular melee weapon. There are tons of other changes in the patch notes. I'll link to those in the description. Hope you enjoyed the summary of Rimworld 1.3. Hope you all have fun playing it and trying out the new things. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.